All right, what's up, everybody? Ransom Reviews back. I just want to talk about the Celtics. It's Sunday night here in Bangkok. The Celtics have played 10 games. They are 7-3 right now on the young and very strange 2021 season. So, yeah, the season is 14% over, 1/7 of the way, which means it's time for the 1/7 of the season is done Celtics review. So what I wanted to do is an homage to one of my favorite Western movies, The Good, Bad, and the Ugly. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to take a look at what's going on with the Celtics so far this year, the good, the bad, the ugly. So let's start with the good. The obvious is the Jays. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown have both been fantastic to start this season. And they've had to be because they are our whole team really right now. Our all of our aspirations of doing well this year rest on their shoulders. Now, I'm not super surprised because I actually was on this very same podcast last year during the playoffs saying that one of the silver linings, despite losing in last year's playoffs, was that I got the sense from watching all those games that basically our team was in good hands. I had the feeling coming out of those playoffs that Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown were good enough or would be eventually good enough to be the best two players on a championship team. That's how I felt. I didn't necessarily think that they were ready, and I don't necessarily know that they're ready now. Jaylen Brown is 24 years old. Jason Tatum will be 23 soon. They're young, man. Like players that age, when they're the best players on a team, don't win championships historically. So my whole point was that you have to love the direction that they're heading. And that has continued at the start of this season. They have just been crushing it, especially Jaylen Brown, who has been arguably the Celtics' best player. I know there's a lot of discussion online about who is our best player. Is it Jaylen Brown? Is it Jason Tatum? Who cares? I think the fact that Jaylen Brown has played so amazing at the start of this season to even make that a conversation is just fantastic. That's a great problem to have. What I've seen from Jaylen is every year I've watched him work on something, get a little bit better at something, whether it's his free throw shooting, whether it's his 3-point shot, moving away from just the corners to being able to do dribble pull-ups or shoot from the other spots on the perimeter, whether it was his mid-range game, whether it was his handles, whether it was his ability to finish with his left hand. He's always adding something. He's always improving. And so I never really had any doubt that Jaylen could continue to grow and be a really solid player. That being said, I think he's playing at a level to start this year that nobody really expected. No one really thought he could be this good. I mean, right now, I think he's shooting 70% from the mid-range, leading the NBA by a wide margin. No one saw that coming. He's averaging, I think, around 26 points per game, which is higher than I would expect. But, you know, him and Tatum are carrying all the load, and they've done remarkably well doing that. I think people expected Tatum to be able to handle those pressures, that duty of being a shot creator and having to carry a team. I don't think people realized that Jaylen could do it too. I think a lot of people had doubts, me included. I mean, I had some doubts that he would be able to produce at this level. But I did think that he would be an all-star this year. And the way he's playing now, it's undoubtable that he's an all-star right now. Of course, we'll have to see if he can continue it. But I've absolutely loved what I've seen from Jaylen. He's usually our best and most consistent player. He attacks the rim. He's the one guy on the team that you know will always attack the rim, which is desperately needed because Tatum sort of vacillates between driving to the rim and doing step backs. So just love everything I've seen from Jaylen Brown. The sky's the limit. And Jason as well. If you can remember at the start of last year, Jason had a really rough start to the year. I mean, he looked really bad. A lot of people were freaking out, me included. I was, not that I ever overreact to anything, but I was freaking out a little bit because, last year was his third year, and third year is usually when players make the leap, so to speak. Like if you're going to be a superstar, your third year in the NBA is usually the year where you take a leap and you start to really show what you're capable of. And Tatum was doing the exact opposite. At the start of last year, he was really struggling and he just looked soft and he looked, I don't want to say disengaged, but you didn't see that fire. You didn't see that aggressiveness going to the hoop. I mean, it was worrying. And then, of course, we all know what happened about halfway through the year. He just started averaging like 30 and 10 and became the Tatum that we know today. And so I guess it's just really nice to see that he's picked up right where he left off in the playoffs. And yeah, I mean, we all know how great Tatum is. So I wanted to talk about that first of all. The Jays. These two guys being our two best players has been absolutely fantastic. And I actually think that Kemba Walker and Gordon Hayward leaving, I know this is going to sound like some revisionist history, but Gordon leaving and Kemba hurt, I think has actually been good for these kids because now they're really able to see what they're capable of. They got put to the ultimate test to start this year. Can they carry a team? And I think so far it's a small sample size, but the answer is yes. And now Kemba is going to come back shortly, and that's great. But I think that like Kemba's already third in the pecking order. It's been established now. And I think Kemba is fine with that. He loves these young kids. And I think we needed to see that, we needed to see these two take control when Kemba was out. Now that Gordon is gone, there's no mystery to whose team it is. And I think that's actually really good and is going to sort of galvanize this team, understanding what that pecking order is and understanding who's going to get touches. There's not going to be any more nights where Jaylen Brown's going to be taking like 10 shots. I just don't think that's going to happen anymore. And that's great. What else is good? Peyton Pritchard. Oh, God. I love this kid so much. This is going to be an exaggeration. It's going to sound like hyperbole, but he is the best rookie I've seen on the Celtics since Tatum. And before that, I don't know, maybe Paul Pierce, Al Jefferson. I can't think of a lot of rookies who have come in and been ready to play since day one, and not even addressing the fact that there was no preseason, really 2 games. There was no summer league. So when I say that he's come in day one and been ready to play, I literally mean day one, ready to play. Now, if you look at Peyton Pritchard's stat line, you might not be that impressed. I think he's averaging like 8 points and 3 assists or something like that. But if you watch every minute of every game like I do, he scores like 1,000,000% on the eye test. He's just so fearless and confident and comfortable with the ball. And when I say comfortable, I mean like his comfort level is so extreme that it reaches through the TV and rubs your shoulders. I mean, there's nobody I would rather see. I'm not exaggerating. There is nobody that I would rather see with the basketball in their hands than Peyton Pritchard. His dribbling, his handle is unbelievable. And his decision-making is like really, really good. He makes nice reads. He moves the ball. He's in the right place. He just gets it, man. He just gets it. And I have been so surprised by him. And it just goes to show you that I am like almost always wrong about draft picks and who's going to be good and who's going to be not. If you can remember, I loved the Nesmith pick and I hated the Pritchard pick when the draft originally happened. Obviously, I am the biggest Pritchard fan in the world already. He has totally changed my perspective of him, and we'll get to Nesmith later. But yeah, I'm all in on Pritchard. If you haven't watched the videos of him on YouTube dribbling the ball, like the stories about him going to practice with bloody hands because he had been dribbling so much that his hands were bleeding, this is a real story. If you haven't watched some of his highlights from his senior season in Oregon, where he was arguably the best college basketball player in the country and was the best point guard and won that award. If you haven't watched his highlights from some of his international tournaments, like this kid some of his workout videos. I'm like so deep down the Peyton Pritchard rabbit hole. I'm watching him like cook mahi mahi at his house. I'm watching everything. I'm watching him teach some girl free throws on his roadside basketball hoop. Okay, I'm all in. I love the kid. I think he's fantastic. I think he's our fourth best player already, and maybe fifth. That might be a bit strong. He's gonna be. I think in a year or two, he's gonna be our fourth best player behind Kemba and the Jays. I really do believe that. I think he's gonna surpass Marcus, Tristan Thompson, Tice, all these dudes. I think he's gonna be that good. I might be crazy, but I've just been completely impressed with him so far. What else is good? Our record. We are 7-3 right now. We are tied for first place in the Eastern Conference. And while our point differential is not great, I think it's like +1 or +1.5, which is not great. I am really, really surprised that we are 7-3 and really pleased. You can't not be pleased. I thought we would struggle out of the gates this year, obviously, with no Kemba and, losing Gordon and the bench players that we have. I thought we would be happy to be 500. So 7-3 is great. And what else? Good. Okay, this is the hardest thing ever for me to say. Like, this is a harder conversation for me to have than like me calling my parents and telling them that actually I'm gay and I'm coming out of the closet. Like, this is the most difficult thing. But Semi Ojeleye he's been okay. It takes a big man to admit when you're wrong. I lambasted Brad Stevens at the beginning of this year for playing Semi Ojeleye and not playing Nesmith. I was furious in the offseason for us keeping Semi Ojeleye on the roster instead of Desmond Bane, who we traded away for nothing, even though he's 4 years younger and could easily be better than Semi Ojeleye like tomorrow. But in Semi Ojeleye's defense, he's been playing pretty solid. He's, we know about his defense, but his shot, he's been working on that 3-pointer for 3 years. And while it still doesn't look great, it's going in. He's shooting about 40% from 3 right now. And as long as he shoots 40% from 3, he is a functional player. And functional is the nicest thing that I've ever said about Ojeleye, because he prevents us from playing the 2 big lineups, which I will get to eventually. But I know I've been hating you forever, and you'll never forgive me. But Semi Ojeleye has been pretty good. Okay, let's get to the bad. Our defense has not been good. It has had moments where it's looked okay, but we all know Brad Stevens is a defensive-minded coach. I mean, he must be, because his offenses are always just ugh. But our defense has just not come together this year. And I am a little bit concerned and a little bit confused as well, because Kemba being out does not hurt our defense. Losing Gordon Hayward does, but we also didn't have Gordon Hayward for half of when he was here anyways. So I'm not sure why that's hurting our defense so much. Tristan Thompson should have helped, but hasn't really. So I'm a little bit confused why our defense has been so bad. It's worrying. The season is still young, and if you've been following the NBA, it's been so weird. The NBA has just been so weird this year that you have to just say, I need to see more. I need to see more games before I can just flat out say the Celtics defense is in trouble. But it is worrying. We are usually a top 5 defense, or at least on the fringes. We have been pretty much the entire time that Stevens has been here. But right now, I think we're like in the 20s. I mean, our defense is pretty bad, and it is worrying for sure. The turnovers is another thing that is worrying. I thought this would be one of our biggest issues at the start of this year, because I knew the ball was going to be in Brown and Tatum's hands a lot, and they're just not natural playmakers. They're working on it, but it's not their natural skill. In fact, we don't have any natural playmakers. Marcus Smart is leading the team with 6 assists per game, and he's probably our best playmaker. I think Pritchard is right behind him, and he's going to be better too. But even Pritchard in college was known as a sharpshooter, not a playmaker. And then Kemba is our point guard, but again, he is a scorer. He's not a playmaker. So I was worried about where the plays were going to be made, who was going to be making them, who was going to be distributing the basketball, who we were going to trust with the basketball in their hands. And it's been a real problem so far. The turnovers have been messy, and there have been a lot of them. And I'm not sure how that gets fixed. I think it's just going to be something we're going to have to live with this iteration of the Boston Celtics. The other bad thing is just our lead. Our no lead is safe. When we're winning by 20, don't turn it off, because it's going to be a close game. When we're winning by 25, 30, the team will come back. The other team will come back. We will give away that lead and possibly lose the game. That's just been part of being a fan of this team this year. You can, like I said, even though our record is really good, look at that point differential. Look at the fact that we have a +1 point differential, and you can see that, almost every game is close. Outside of us getting smashed by the Brooklyn Nets at the start of this year, we're in a lot of close games, and it's worrying. Outside of Jaylen and Jason and Pritchard, there hasn't really been much to be excited about. Grant Williams looked like he got 10 times worse at the start of this season. He has started to come around a little bit lately, but the first week or so of basketball, he was borderline unplayable. Tice hasn't looked right either, whether it's the cleaning up his knee surgery that he did over the short break. I don't know what it is, but his three-pointer is really bad, and we need him to be able to stretch the floor, and right now he can't. His defense has still been pretty good, but he just looks off. Smart has been even more inefficient than normal, and his body language hasn't been great. In particular, the game where Peyton Pritchard hit the game winner when Smart drove to the rim and got fouled, but they didn't call it. It was really concerning to see Peyton Pritchard run off the floor celebrating and all the other Celtics celebrating with him, but Marcus Smart was like yelling at the referee about the foul. That was not a good look. I understand that he was frustrated that he should have gotten the foul call, but it's like, it's a really selfish thing to be worrying about your call when your rookie teammate just won the game for you. Like, go celebrate with your team. So I haven't loved his body language. I'm not as worried about him as most people are, because I just expect Smart to be an inefficient player. That's just who he's always been. So I just want to see better body language. Tristan Thompson has been fine, whatever. I mean, if you're going to get excited about a guy who gives you 8 points and 8 rebounds, then fine. You can get excited about that. I don't think it's anything to be excited about, but yeah, Rob Williams has looked good, but again, it's like every time you bump into him, you worry that he's just going to break into a million pieces. Right now, he's out with COVID protocol, I think, and we'll get to that as well. The ugly. Let's get to the ugly. The ugly is Brad Stevens and this too big lineup. Just stop. Stop, Brad. Stop acting like you're smarter than everybody else on the planet that knows that the too big lineup doesn't work. It's awful. There's no spacing. You can't play two centers that can't shoot threes at the same time. It doesn't work, Brad. Just stop doing it, Brad. Stop. Can you hear me? Do I need to email this to you? Stop. Please stop. And poor Aaron Nesmith. Is he a bust? I mean, I feel like it has to be too soon to say that. You know, he's 21 years old. He's played a handful of minutes. But from what we've seen, which isn't much, the kid has no idea how to play basketball. Like none. Zero instincts. He's not ready. Rushes his shot. can't play defense, has no idea where to be. On the eye test, he rates as like bleeding eyes, as like staring too long at the sun during an eclipse, as like getting conjunctivitis from a dying zombie cat. That's how bad the eye test is. I wanted to like this kid so bad. All this chatter before the year started about, oh, he might just be the best shooter on the Celtics already. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure I echoed some of those thoughts. Well, he's not. We can just say right now he's not. And I don't care how good his form looks. I don't care about the 10 games that he shot 50% last year at Vanderbilt. When you watch him out there, the shots don't go in. So you cannot tell me how good of a shooter he is when his shots don't go in. And that's supposed to be the one thing that he can do, by the way. So when I say that his shot looks rushed and his shots aren't going in, that's the nicest thing that I can say about Nesmith. Well, he's big. I could say that. He's 6'6". He actually is 6'6". It's not like he showed up and we found out he was actually 4 feet tall. So that's good, I guess. But everything on the basketball court has been a disaster for him. Brad Stevens has said some frightening things about him just like not even being able to get up and down the court. And it was pretty shocking to hear those things from Brad. And look, Brad is usually really hard on rookies, but when you see Peyton Pritchard playing 25 minutes a game, you realize like, okay, well, if you're ready to play, then he'll play you. Like if you can be responsible defensively and you can make plays offensively, he'll play you. I mean, I feel like Pritchard is proving that, which just goes to show you again that Nesmith is nowhere near ready. I would go so far as to say, do not have any expectations for Aaron Nesmith to do anything besides ride the pine for this entire season. And I know that's probably a knee-jerk overreaction, but I'm telling you, man, from what I've seen, he looks nowhere near ready, nowhere close to being ready. And all you can do is cross your fingers and hope that he's not James Young 2.0, which is how I feel at this point, or RJ Hunter. What I've done for mental gymnastics to make myself feel better is I've basically switched Nesmith and Pritchard's draft order in my head. So I'm just pretending like Pritchard was the 14th pick and Nesmith was the 26th pick. And that way I can say to myself, oh, look at this lottery pick, Pritchard. He's one of the best rookies right now in the NBA. And that's just facts. Whereas Nesmith, well, you know, you drafted him at the end of the first round. He's a project. You hope that you'll get something out of it, but a lot of times historically you don't get anything out of that pick. So that's the lie that I'm telling myself. I strongly encourage any other Celtics fans to just adopt this lie as it helps with mental health. So that is my report on the first 10 games of the Celtics season in 2021, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So for those of you that watched the video that made it this long, what are your thoughts on the Celtics so far? Do you think that we're going to keep this record up? Kemba is coming back shortly. Is that going to make us better? Are we going to play at the same level? Do we have a fall off coming? We have just found out that COVID apparently has wrecked our entire team, possibly. So there might be no Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum for the next 10 days. If that's the case, then yeah, we're probably in for a bumpy ride over the next couple of weeks. I will say that even with 8 players apparently for the game against Miami tomorrow, I would still be shocked if we see more than 5 minutes of poor Aaron Nesmith. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below, and go Celtics, and I'll see you next time on Ransom Reviews.